Elon and Trump having a massive public meltdown, fallout, bromance breakup. I just made that up. I like that. It's the fight that we all knew was coming. That was as predictable as the sun rising in the morning and as vicious and punitive and lame and, childish as we all expected it to be. As I said, is anyone surprised by this? No. Does it affect or matter to founders, investors, and operators, which this show is about? Probably not, but it is the thing everyone's talking about this week, so we thought we'd touch on it lightly. For me, if I don't know about you, but for me, this just highlights a thing that we talked about many, many, many months ago, that Elon Musk represents a security risk to the US, key man security risk. Let's say, for the sake of argument, the president was not a psychopath and he needed to rein in an Elon Musk. That would be very, very difficult to do. Trump, for all his petulance, is trying to threaten, canceling SpaceX contracts and what have you. He can't do that. It's actually a security risk for him to do that. So he cannot actually rein in Elon Musk. And so I think that part of the point here is that Elon Musk is actually a national security threat. The other part of the story is that Trump is a national security threat for other reasons. His petulance and his psychopathy being one, but the other is the LA riots and escalations being number two. And so, the whole thing is just a bunch of children who are running the world. And it's sort of it's showing this. And then finally, they're both talking about each other. It's the quiet part out loud, or the loud part even louder, which is they're both accusing each other of sickness, drug abuse, Epstein files, criminality, on and on and on. These are all things we all know already. And then they finally stop shilling for each other and revealing the thing that we've all been saying. So the hypocrisy and the cravenness that they're displaying of their own personalities, their own behavior, is also shocking as well. So just terrible all around.
An extreme version if you can't read the label from inside the bottle. But I've got a couple of observations on this, Chris. So first of all, I think you're attributing too much sophistication to Trump's thinking here that, Elon's a national security threat. What has happened is that Donald Trump is just doing what he has always done, and Elon Musk should have realized would happen to him, which is that he spends some time with people, he uses them, and then he discards them. If you look at all the people from his first administration, they nearly all fell out with him. That's just what happens. Trump just moves on and he gathers no moss. That's just what happens, right? And the bigger the ego of the other person, the faster it happens, which is why we all knew this was coming, Chris.
My point was not that Trump has realized he's a security threat. My point is that his threats on Truth Social are hollow because he can't actually do anything to Musk. He actually can't follow through on his promises or on his threats of canceling SpaceX contracts. So it's showing that even in the face of someone who does not care about the second, third order effects, he's still smart enough to know that he can't do these things to Musk. So it's not so much that he realizes a security threat, it's just that we're all seeing the hollowness of the threats against him post breakup.
To me, the interesting thing is that this is perhaps the beginning of the end of the right-wing tech bro oligarchy coalition with the MAGA folks, right? Because Elon was the leader of that movement, right? In a whole bunch of meaningful ways. And a bunch of people, I guess most notably David Sachs, but also a friend of the pod, Emil Michael, have been installed in the Trump government kind of with Elon Musk's backing. And so the question is, what happens now that Elon Musk and Trump have fallen out? Where are folks like David Sachs going to go? And what does it mean for this coalition? Are we still going to have this closeness between MAGA and right-wing tech? And if not, because it does feel hard to hold this coalition together, they actually had very little in common other than just a kind of restless rage at government. Does that change the complexion of Silicon Valley? I think it might.
I think that's right, and that's the right thread to pull on for our audience and for this show. You mentioned that Trump did what Trump does, which is he used Elon and then spat him out. I actually don't see it that way. I see it in the opposite way, which is that I think that Elon and Sachs and Thiel and these guys, they believed they could use Trump. They thought that they could control the guy with money and platitudes and three-dimensional thinking. I've heard a lot of commentary about, well, this is just about Musk protecting his businesses with the EV subsidies. And the EV subsidies in the budget were the bridge too far, and he's feeling it in his pocketbook. And I really think that's a bad take. I don't think it has anything to do with EV subsidies, actually. I think Musk has shown that he can take a lot of pain for him personally and for his businesses, and he is willing to put his money and his wealth and his reputation on the line to support Trump. And that's not a business calculation. I think it's a deeply held personal grievance and pain and belief of Musk and some of these Silicon Valley people, not all of them, but some of them, that they believe that the country is way off track. The death of meritocracy and most importantly, a fast track to bankruptcy. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't matter whether you believe me or not, or whether you believe them or not, or whether you believe that they're competent in dealing with this, or whether Trump is the right vehicle or person to solve this. What I'm saying is, I believe that many of them, including Musk, has been deeply hurt by what he believes to be the woke mind virus and his child transitioning, and been deeply hurt about the COVID behavior, and him and Chamath and David are obsessed with the trajectory of the debt and the long-term fiscal viability of the country. And I think that this budget, and I've listened to Chamath and others on All In about this, they think it's catastrophic. They think this budget is catastrophic. And I actually think that this is not about EV subsidies. I think it's about his sincerely held belief that this budget was a bridge too far and is unwinding all of the things that he believed needed to get done. And so he's thrown his reputation and his businesses under the bus to support Trump, believing he could control him. And then he's throwing all of it again under the bus, believing that he could try to resolve or hijack or derail this bill that I think he genuinely believes is a disaster. And it probably is a disaster because everything Trump does is a disaster.
Well, look, I completely agree with you. And it highlights something interesting about the way these coalitions have been built, right? Elon Musk and those guys genuinely believe that there's a deficit problem. I agree with your analysis. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. The Republicans actually don't give a shit. They were just pretending. What they want to do is cut government. And so did Elon Musk and those guys, right? So they had the same goal in terms of action, but a very different reason for doing it, right? And then now that we have this bill that will disastrously increase the deficit, you have a weird shifting of coalitions where you have plenty of centrist people, even people in the, center left saying, this deficit thing is a real problem, and that's why we hate this bill for the exact same reasons as Elon Musk, right? And in both cases, genuine, right? Because this thing with Doge and so on, reasonable people generally agreed that the deficit was a problem. It was either a medium-sized problem or a very big problem or a crisis, but clearly a problem that needed to be addressed. And where the disagreement with Doge was, where my disagreement and those of many others, was the way Doge went about it was stupid and destructive and inhumane and bad. But the idea of government efficiency, that was never the problem, right? The idea of cutting costs, that was never the problem. It was the way of going about it. So now that that sort of Doge has played out and Trump and the Republicans' true intentions have been revealed, which was it was nothing about cutting deficit, that is the natural end of that coalition, and it will be interesting to see what replaces it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And where the alignment was the Republicans love to slash government and centralize power, and to let their business friends take over the world. It has nothing to do with actual efficiency, but that's where their alignment was. I think the other place where the alignment was Trump loves to test the boundaries of executive power, and Doge was an incredible and interesting and useful trial balloon for him to continue to push on this idea that he can do whatever he wants. And so he let his dog off the leash to go muckrake around the government, fuck it up. That's fine. Who cares? But really, the real thing for Trump, I think, is to test the limits of his power. And to push that Overton window over to the right.
Agreed.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts on Musk, on Trump, on children playing in the sandbox. Let us know your thoughts. Join us in the comments below.